Aid workers have warned that the aftermath of the earthquake in Venezuela last week has developed into a major medical crisis. Meanwhile, international rescue teams continue search efforts as many remain trapped under the rubble. One non-governmental digital database where families can register missing loved ones showed over 40,000 people still unaccounted for as of Wednesday.
Al día de hoy se contabilizan 2.295 personas fallecidas, 11.267 personas heridas. Estamos contando al momento 12.841 personas damnificadas. En cuanto a las personas rescatadas, ayer se suma el rescate de una niña y llegamos a 6.461 personas que han sido rescatadas por los más de 4.000 efectivos y brigadistas internacionales que se encuentran todavía hoy en el sitio de desastre, en la zona de desastre, buscando personas vivas.
Thousands of displaced Venezuelans are sleeping in crowded shelters or outside without access to clean water. Venezuela is also facing a severe shortage of doctors, while aid workers warn that extensive damage to infrastructure could fuel disease outbreaks in the hardest hit communities.
Russian forces launched a massive overnight bombardment of Kiev using strike drones and missiles, killing at least 10 people and wounding at least 56, including children, as explosions echoed across the capital. The heavy barrage affected 5 districts of the wider region, with regional governor Mykola Kalashnik confirming coordinated strikes involving a wave of ballistic missiles and drones. The assault followed President Volodymyr Zelensky cutting short an official diplomatic visit to Dublin on Wednesday, after intelligence reports explicitly warned that Moscow was preparing an impending large-scale strike on the capital. The latest escalation comes as Kiev steps up its own long-range drone campaign deep inside Russian territory, increasingly targeting energy infrastructure and border sector military installations. Moscow also said its air defenses had intercepted hundreds of drones from Ukraine in recent days.
It is important that no further cuts are done to cohesion policy, Bulgaria's Deputy Prime Minister Atanas Pekanov told Euronews ahead of the annual EU budget conference in Brussels, where member states are set to fight for cash. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz called the EU long-term budget unaffordable and demanded a 400 billion euros cut, particularly for fundings of cohesion and agriculture.
Cohesion policy is not a gift from some member states to others. It is an investment in a functioning single market. It makes the infrastructure that then enables firms across Europe to extend, to get new markets, to get new consumers. It also creates new opportunities for European industries.
On another note, Pekanov gave an assessment of his country's economic outlook 6 months after Bulgaria joined the Eurozone on the 1st of January.
In the longer term, the euro will bring benefits to Bulgaria, strengthened creditworthiness and strengthened credit ratings, more trust in our country on financial markets. In the short run, however, there have been some, I would say, pressures on the inflation side. Unfortunately, with the start of the war in Iran, this also contributed. One could say that some firms coordinated and increased their prices. This is something we are worried about.
He said Sofia is investigating whether there have been malpractices in some sectors and is finalizing the recovery and resilience plan.
The European Court of Justice on Thursday upheld Google's record 4.1 billion euros fine over alleged anti-competitive practices related to the company's Android operating system. The European Commission hit the US tech giant with a penalty in 2018, alleging that the firm had abused its dominant market position, particularly by using pre-installation agreements with phone makers to give an unfair advantage to its search engine and Chrome browser. An initial fine of 4.3 billion euros was imposed, but the EU's General Court reduced this to 4.1 billion euros in 2022. Google CEO Sundar Pichai has argued that the Android system has created more choice, not less. In 2025, the Commission also slapped Google with a 2.95 billion euros fine over alleged breaches of antitrust practices. It said the company had distorted competition in the advertising technology industry, favoring its own online display advertising technology services to the detriment of competing providers of advertising technology services, advertisers, and online publishers.
Germany's ruling coalition has agreed on sweeping tax, labor, and pensions reforms, a breakthrough after 7 hours of talks aimed at getting the country's sluggish economy back on track. The package includes income tax cuts worth 10 billion euros to be financed by higher taxes on those earning more than 250,000 euros a year. Changes to the pension system will eventually see the retirement age rise past 67, and the right of employees to get a sick note by telephone will be scrapped with the aim of reducing worker absentee days. Since taking office just over a year ago, Merz's coalition has become deeply unpopular, in part because of perceptions that it has squabbled but so far achieved little.
Wir wissen, Sie, meine Damen und Herren, die Bürgerinnen und Bürger unseres Landes, wollen Entscheidungen und sie wollen keinen Streit. Und genau das haben wir geliefert. Aber wir geben auch eine Bitte an Sie weiter. Machen Sie mit, unterstützen Sie uns bei den jetzt notwendigen Reformen. Wir wissen, dass Sie alle in der Mitte unserer Gesellschaft die Zeichen der Zeit erkannt haben. Ich nehme in der Öffentlichkeit eine enorme Bereitschaft wahr, die Stagnation hinter uns zu lassen und jetzt einen neuen Aufbruch zu wagen. Unser Land kann mehr und unser Land will mehr.
The government is also keen to show it can get to grips with the country's problems and to diminish the appeal of the far-right Alternative for Germany, which has been topping national opinion polls for months ahead of key regional elections.
The EU's share of electricity generated from renewables keeps growing. In the first quarter of 2026, it reached 45.5% of the total electricity generated, new Eurostat data reveals. Wind led the way, covering 44.9% of the total renewable electricity, followed by hydropower at 28% and solar at 17.3%. The remainder came from combustible renewable fuels, geothermal and other energy sources. Denmark leads with the highest share of electricity from renewable sources in the EU at 90%, mostly wind power. Portugal ranks in second place at 82.9%, thanks to an abundance of hydropower, followed by Lithuania, another wind leader, with 75.7%. At the other end of the spectrum, the countries benefiting least from the green transition are Czechia, with 12.7% of its electricity generated from renewables, Malta and Slovakia. Investment in renewables is helping to slash greenhouse gas emissions and reduce energy bills at a time when gas prices are at an all-time high. The EU saved more than 50 billion euros in 2025 by decreasing fossil fuel imports, according to the International Energy Agency.
Firefighters have managed to contain one of the two blazes north of Marseille. In Bouches-du-Rhône, the Lançon-Provence fire burned through 260 hectares overnight, and firefighters are still battling the flames. 250 firefighters have been deployed, backed by 2 Canadair water bombers. The blaze in Rognac, slightly further south, was brought under control before dawn on Thursday morning after burning 40 hectares. Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu is to chair an interministerial crisis unit in Marseille. Further west, the fire straddling the Hérault and Aude departments has burned 800 hectares. The blaze broke out late Wednesday afternoon in a commune about 30 kilometers north of Narbonne. The flames quickly moved into Aude. Fire crews from both departments, 550 in all, have been deployed. According to the Aude Prefecture, weather conditions are once again becoming very unfavorable with high temperatures and strong winds.
wise girl coming here by herself to hike this. But big color, which is not great.
Yeah, they're tiny. I can see them. They're like, well,
The town is called Selma, and you can see the bus.
let's see if there's some on this side you can get maybe.
Wat is je euro?